This government has done so much, to allow the Zambians to live, at least to survive.
Sadly, fellow citizens, is that the members of parliament from the UPND, the ruling party, walked out of parliament.
The official power rationing hours will extend to 17 hours daily.
That we must not steal from the people we serve. Corruption is unacceptable.
It is with a heavy heart that I must announce that the United States is cutting $50 million, that's 1.4 billion kwacha, in annual aid to Zambia provided for medications and medical supplies. In the face of minimal action, responsive action by the government of Zambia,
You can throw out new dawn and still remain poor.
Over the past few weeks, there's a lot that's been happening here in Zambia, and I thought I'd talk about it. From the title of the video, you know what this video is going to be about, people. So before we jump in, let's talk about the good. So far, since 2021 August, what has the UPND done? What have they achieved so far? Because right now it's been almost 4 years of them being in office, and I just want to talk about a few good things or stuff that they've managed to achieve from their manifesto. So let's talk about the good. So they increased the amount for CDF. So CDF is the Constituency Development Fund. It's an amount of money that is given to each constituency for them to help do projects that will help develop the constituency, like construction of roads, maybe putting drainages and pipes and all that kind of stuff. So initially the CDF amount was about 1.6 million kwacha to each constituency. I don't know if it's per year or if it's per month, I'm not so sure about that. But now it has been increased to 31 million kwacha. Significant increase. I don't know if you've heard of something they introduced called cash for work. I've seen it in a lot of communities where a group of people come together, get a small contract and work for the government, to the local government or local council of the constituency, and they get paid, and it's helping their lives and helping them achieve a lot of things. I've also noticed, like here where I am, it has helped the government or the local council to buy trucks, garbage trucks and tractors to help with the disposal of waste around the town that I'm in. Then also they introduced free education. So now children don't really have an excuse not to go to school right now because the education is free. Then also there was a mass employment that was happening. More than 50,000 people have been employed in various government sectors like education, the military, health, and many other sections. Then also the construction of the Lusaka-Ndola dual carriageway. So we've had many governments over the years that have talked about doing this project, but the UPND put their foot down and said they can do it, and they are doing it right now. The construction's going on. I think a couple months ago I saw a report from the government and said they are like 23% done. Yeah, at least the project is moving, it's starting, and as they are traveling from the Copper Belt to Lusaka, or maybe Central Province to Lusaka, you will see the works that have been happening along this road. So now, we've talked about the good, so let's talk about the bad and the ugly. So recently, the government introduced a new cybersecurity bill. I haven't really read the bill yet. I've seen it. I said going through it, but I haven't completed going through it. But I've seen from online posts the allegations that this bill has been introduced to suppress the freedom of the people of Zambia, the freedom of speech of the people of Zambia. They say it's a way, because elections are next year, it's a way to suppress, is it next year? Oh, 2026. Yeah, sorry. Next year, 2026. We're having the elections, and they say this bill is a way to suppress the opposition and how they are going to do their campaigning and all that stuff. There are some allegations that have been going around, but I don't have full information about the bill. I haven't finished and completed it. I'm sure by the time I'll be done reading it or going through it, I'll make a video about it and we'll see. if these people are right through whatever they're thinking. That's one of the few. Then also the promises. They've had so many broken promises. Like them saying the price of meal will drop to 50 kwacha. Right now it's almost 400 if I'm not wrong. Some places it's been above 400 depending where you are. The price of meal has skyrocketed. And I saw a video, I can't remember who said it, but I saw some politician saying, you do know the economy is doing well by the price of the staple food. So maize or meal. It's the staple food here in Zambia. So looking at the price of it being 400, the price has increased by more than 100% since the UPND got into government. Maybe more than 400%. Because I remember when the previous government left, the price of meal was should be 140 kwacha to 200. It was somewhere in that range, but now it's gone all the way to 400. Yeah, so there was a promise of the price of meal reducing. But we all know the price of meal, for it to reduce, it will take a very long time because there are various factors that affect the price of meal. Like the agricultural inputs, the fertilizers, as well as the transportation. Look at the price of fuel right now, it's very expensive. Then also the weather, whether it's drought, it's going to be too much rain, flooding, all these factors affect the price of the staple food, that is maize. Then also they said they would fix load shedding, like load shedding would end and things will go back to normal. But right now, load shedding hasn't ended. Like for me, when I open when I don't like going online and I see them talking about Kariba Dam, especially like a couple months ago, I see a lot of posts. Oh, Kariba Dam is almost full. It's maybe 70% full, 80%. I don't want to see those updates. I just want to see or wake up or get home and find there's electricity and things are just normal. Like, 24/7 electricity. But no, that's not been happening. But the allegation that the government is able, or the ZESCO is able to produce electricity. It's just that the government has been selling the electricity to neighboring countries, blah blah, all these kinds of allegations. I don't know if that's true. I haven't really dived into that, so it's just some allegations that I've seen online on the internet. Then also said the cost of living will reduce, but all these things have been affected by the price of fuel. That's what I believe. Like the cost of living, the price of fuel, as well as load shedding, these things have affected the economy. Then recently I saw some videos from the US ambassador to Zambia. And in one of the videos, he talked about how the US government is cutting $50 million in medical aid to Zambia. So when I first saw it, I was like, whoa, because I remember when Trump first got into power, he was talking about cutting aid, like US aid is now dissolved, didn't exist anymore, it's done. So I thought maybe this was just part of the process. But then I had to do my research, listen to and watch the videos and do some more research. So let's go back to 2021. This is when this whole thing began. 2021, the US government had done some investigation and found that there was some theft that was going on dealing with the medical aid that they were giving to the Zambian government. And they had given this report to the Zambian government.
In September of 2021, the United States, formally through diplomatic channels, sent a letter to the then Minister of Health related to this issue to first raise the government's attention to it.
They did the same between 2021 and 2023. They were still doing the same thing, like the Zambian government investigates so that we know what's happening, and they did offer help, foreign help, like, as the American embassy, we can offer you help to help you investigate and deal with and solve this issue. But the Zambian government did very little to work on this. So the little they did was them going for low-level thieves or culprits instead of going to the top, dealing with the people at the top who are doing all this theft. So 2024, they expected the government to do something, still nothing. So this year, the government of the United States of America decided to cut that financial aid, the medical aid that was being given. And most of this aid that was being given, the medical aid, was to help with people who are suffering with HIV and AIDS, tuberculosis, malaria, and many other diseases, and help them in, fighting these diseases or suppressing the disease that they have. But due to this cut, it has really affected the Zambian medical or health sector. So, America or the USA is one of the countries that donates heavily to Zambia. It gives a lot of grants to Zambia. It spends more than $600 million per year in aid, and these are grants, grants you don't pay back. Then recently I also did another, I think a couple of months before that video, where he talked about the medical theft. He talked about how Zambia has been purchasing very expensive maize from Tanzania. So the Zambian government made a contract with the Tanzanian government. The Tanzanian government was going to now supply Zambia with 650 metric tons of maize. But the issue with this dealing, or why he talked about this, was because due to the drought that had been happening in Zambia the past couple of years, the American government gave a grant to the Zambian government of $20 million to help with the drought relief for the people who have been heavily affected by the drought. So they are given $20 million. When you give a grant or a donation to someone, you expect to know how the money is being used. So in this case, after giving the money, they discovered that Zambia purchased very expensive maize from Tanzania. They bought like 40% more expensive than the market value.
And yet, at the beginning of the drought, the Zambian government signed a contract with Tanzania for 650,000 metric tons of grain to be imported from Tanzania. And so, before we knew of the contract, the United States, as a partner, as a compassionate friend of this country, contributed $20 million to address food insecurity and drought. Only to find out that you're paying 40% higher than you should to get grain, and you're not even taking what you received.
And how these grants and donations work is there are reports that have to be given. So if they give you $10 million, there has to be a report that has to be given to see how the funds were being used. We say, okay, we purchased this, we bought this, we did this. Reports have to be made and submitted to the embassies or the country's embassy where the donation had come from. So if we talk about these grants and funds, like the money from the US government, it comes from the US taxpayers, the American citizens who are paying taxes. That's the money that's now funding most of the aid that has been coming. It also comes through other companies as well as other donors and people. So that was one of the few things that the American ambassador talked about. But this thing, I think, has irritated, or may I say embarrassed, the Zambian government, because I came across a video where one of the ministers was talking about how this American ambassador didn't use the right way to dispel information. But I don't think there's anything wrong, if you ask me, because these guys, the American embassy, they said telling the Zambian government in 2021, most of us didn't even know that was happening. 2021, they're talking about the same thing, medical aid theft. 2022, they still asking. 2023, 2024, and now that the American government has acted, they say, oh, you should have done it the right way, you should have talked to us properly. But they had been telling you that behind closed doors. Most of us only found out about this for me, I found out, is it last week when it popped off on the internet, or was it the week before? I don't really know. But yeah, I said most of us normal citizens found out about this, but they had been discussing these issues on and on and on and on. Yeah, I'm sure sometimes maybe they just got tired of it, because the ambassadors have to be accountable for how the funds and grants from their government are working in the country. But if the money is being stolen and wasted, better you cut it off. I think that's maybe a reasonable thing to do. Yeah. But from the title, I'm beginning to think maybe the UPND has lost that confidence. They've lost the confidence that they can win the 2026 elections. Why? Because I saw a video from the vice president, one of the top government officials in the country. As a government official, I know for me, I expect a government official when they speak to be enthusiastic and optimistic. But in this video, look how she sounded.
You can throw out new dawn and still remain poor.
I hope this was just a phase, not really what she thinks is going to happen, or her spirit has been crushed, or maybe it's just something that she thought of talking about in that moment. I also saw another video from our president where he said this.
Leadership is not easy. It's assumed to be easy from a distance. It's pretty challenging.
So I guess from that video, maybe it shows that it's easier when you're not in power. It's easier when you're in a position to make or mock people in power, saying, oh, you're not doing anything this And they say leadership is kind of hard, so maybe they are feeling the heat right now. But there's a lot that's been happening online, offline, blah blah blah. But you know, there's just a few things that I want to talk about, and these are the factors that might affect next year's election results. But if you ask me right now, in my what I think, I don't know who can take over. Let's say if the UPND lose, I don't know who can stand against them. I don't know any political or politician right now who's a threat to the UPND at this moment. I don't really know. Maybe I'm behind. If you know anyone or think there's someone who is capable, let me know in the comments below. And do you think that the UPND has given up? And do you think they will win? For me, like from these videos, I feel like they are losing hope in the future. Anyway, people, remember to like, share, and subscribe if you haven't, and let me know what you think in the comments below. Remember to like, share, and subscribe if you haven't, and I'll catch you on my next video. Peace.